As our world changes, we'll keep you up to date with the latest information. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. A woman died in a single vehicle rollover crash this morning in Logan. The accident was reported around 11 a.m. near 1600 East Canyon Road. Logan City Police Captain Curtis Hooley said a jogger was the first to find a white SUV upside down in the Logan River west of First Dam. They called 911, who paged police from Logan City and Utah State University, along with Logan City firefighters, to the scene. As emergency crews arrived at the crash, they assisted two citizens who were attempting to get a female up the river embankment from the SUV. Paramedics attempted life-saving efforts and transported the woman by ambulance to Logan Regional Hospital, where she was later pronounced dead. The woman's identity is not yet being released, pending notification of family. Hooley said firefighters searched the vehicle and the river but could not find any other occupants. Officers believe the woman was driving the SUV eastbound when she drifted to the right and off the embankment into the river. It's not known yet how long the SUV was in the river before being discovered. KVNU News Time is 5:06. KVNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies, low 10 to 15, and then sunny and lower 30s tomorrow, sunny and mid-30s on Wednesday. It's been to 35. It's 30 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. They remind you to change your furnace filter every 3 months. Your furnace will run more efficiently. To clean your ducts, call them at 435-770-4813.
This is Mark with Roof Rescue. Most of us don't think about our roofs very often until you see shingles on the ground or water drips through your ceiling. Keep your roof in tip-top shape to protect your home, your biggest investment. Roof Rescue uses only the highest quality materials with experienced workmanship guaranteed to last. Even if you were denied by your insurance company the first time, a free re-evaluation can be made. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free consultation in Cache Valley and surrounding areas. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 5:07. Authorities in Garfield County have asked for help from the public to find a missing 51-year-old woman missing for over a week. Officials with the Garfield County Sheriff's Office says Michelle Clark left her Penguich home during the early hours of Friday, November 4th. Clark, who they said also goes as Michelle Partridge, has not been seen or heard from since. She was described as 5 feet 5 inches tall, green eyes, blonde hair. Investigators did say family and friends were concerned about her safety, but officials did not say if Clark suffered from any medical conditions. Anyone with information on her whereabouts is asked to call the Garfield County Sheriff's Office. And 3 different suspects were arrested Thursday, accused of trying to meet up and have sex with girls they thought were underage. All 3 suspects are accused of communicating through digital devices with who they thought were girls between the ages of 12 and 14. But it was really law enforcement officers with the FBI and a Utah task force on the other end. Jen Oxborough is a therapist who told KUTV he is hearing more and more of this alleged behavior in the clinical community. He said this is happening through phones, apps, and through different social media. Oxborough applauds law enforcement efforts, but said parents should have age-appropriate conversations with their children about the real manipulation that they are more than likely, to face. KVNU News Time is 5:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
610 AM and 102.1 FM. News Talk KVNU.
Jessup Insurance invites you to attend a friendly, no-cost educational Medicare meeting Wednesday, November 16th. Jessup Insurance will answer questions and simplify the entire Medicare process, all while enjoying a yummy dessert. Wednesday, 7 p.m., November 16th at Jessup Insurance. Call 213-3200 for more information or stop at 530 West, 465 North in Providence. Wednesday, November 16th.
Insurance and retirement services. Let us guide you.
Hi, this is Bob Larson with LSS Insurance. TV ads tempting you with cash back on your Medicare? Come learn about Molina's Medicare Advantage plans for 2023. Call 752-9493 or go to our website lssins.com for seminar dates and times. Don't get hooked by calling a national line. Call LSS where you can work with a local agent. Having a real person you can sit down with makes all the difference. For accommodations of persons with special needs at meetings, call 752-9493.
I am one of over 40 million Americans with migraine. A migraine is not just a headache. A migraine attack can last for hours or even days, often with sensitivity to lights and sound or nausea and vomiting. Thankfully, there is help for migraine. Learn more at headachemigraine.org. Now is the perfect time to find out if what you have may be migraine. Visit headachemigraine.org, sponsored by the Coalition for Headache and Migraine Patients.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, Hour 2 of today's show. It is Monday, November 14th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter in the studio as well, and we are joined by two very special guests to talk about something new happening here in northern Utah. And the easiest way to think about this is, the Logan Downtown Alliance. You know their success. You know how they've brought the downtown into a spotlight, brought business owners together there for various efforts, from downtown beautification to turning Center Street into basically a market all day long, every Wednesday through the summer. It's been huge as far as those downtown businesses go, but it's also reminded everyone of what Logan Downtown has to offer. And so with that Downtown Alliance here in Logan in mind, similar efforts have been and will continue to be underway in cities throughout northern Utah. So we, via our good friend Gary Saxton of the Logan Downtown Alliance, who's here with us in the studio, are going to expand outside of Cache Valley today, talk a little bit about what's happening in other downtowns, and joining us right now to talk about Tremonton's downtown and the Box Elder County at large. We have in the studio with us also Sara Mohrman. And Sara, I appreciate taking some time for us today. Gary as well.
Thanks.
This is... it's one of those things that, Gary and I have talked about this a lot when he's been here in the studio. It's just human nature. It's always going to happen, but we really take our downtowns for granted. But we would be the first to complain and gripe if they suddenly weren't there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's something we drive through every day or even stop and do a little shopping or grab a bite to eat every day. And we never really pause to think, wow, downtown's pretty cool. It's pretty integral to life in this city or in this county even. And Sara, that's what you want to do for Tremonton, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You just kind of want to drive that point home.
Yeah.
This is a big, broad question, but how has Tremonton changed over the years?
It has changed quite a bit.
It seems to have.
We, like everyone else, we're experiencing growth.
Sure.
But with that growth comes a lot of new people, new ideas, new things. I'm actually someone that's relatively new. I've only lived here 3.5 years myself. But we've seen new businesses coming in. We're seeing, just new coffee shops, just a lot of things that are changing every day.
I mentioned this at the end of last hour, but I had work there. This was a while back this year, but a few months back. I had work there, and I had about 45 minutes to kill, so I just sort of, I don't even know why, I just sort of pulled over on the main drag there in Tremonton. I got out, and I just started walking and looking, and I thought that as I walked, I'm like, well, this is actually a pretty cool downtown.
It is.
And I had no idea. I drive through it all the time. It's there are a lot of businesses, a lot of them new, but some of them, as old as a generation, right?
At least, yeah.
And Gary, that's similar to Logan's Downtown, right? We've got businesses in Logan's Downtown that have been there since before you and I were alive, and some that just came in this year.
Yeah, we got businesses like Levin's and You and I Furniture.
Sure.
Been there for like 3 generations.
Yeah.
And that's the fabric of downtowns. They're those that have been there forever and the ones that are trying to make downtown their new home. It's cool.
It's a question for both of you, and if you want, you could just take turns. But what are the challenges right now for downtowns? Because there have to be, despite maybe population differences or geographical differences, there have to be some similar challenges between Logan and Tremont when it comes to the downtown.
I think some of it can be getting people to support, not that they're not supporting local, but sometimes it's quick to go to a Walmart or to the mall or, the big box stores. We see the advertisements on.
Although quick is relative, I've noticed.
Right, absolutely.
Those feels lines, quick.
Yeah, those lines are quite long. But we have so many resources in Tremonton, in our little shops, that people aren't even aware of that you can get without having to leave Tremonton for those little things like your coffee beans or some mugs or gifts or those things. You don't have to leave town, but sometimes there's a re-education process that we're having to do. Sure.
And I have to say this, no offense to our local shops, but I also have been to the IFA there in Tremont, and man, are they friendly. I understood so much more about what it was I was buying that day when I left, even though I decided not to make a purchase that day, than I did walking in. There is something about the downtowns we can still have here, right? Despite the growth that you mentioned, Sarah, and I know, Gary, with the university, that kind of changes dynamics a little bit here in Logan, but Logan's downtown still feels small town downtown.
Yeah, it does.
When you walk through it, even though it's not.
Yeah. So we're going to be growing as a county, and Box Elder will be growing as a county.
Sure.
And sometimes we think Sarah and I, we really know our downtowns, and the mistake that you can make is think that everybody else knows your downtowns as well as you do. And so what I always have to keep checking myself is our messaging needs to be to the community with the thought that the person I'm talking to doesn't know anything about our downtown.
Oh, that's interesting.
And we're constantly trying to just get people to look at downtown for the first time.
Okay.
See what they don't know about what's happening in downtown. And I know this is working because when Logan City tore the Emporium down, people started looking at downtown again for the first time, wondering what are they, what's happening in downtown. I'm getting that all the time. What's going on downtown? And so
that's hard to miss.
So
right?
you get big projects happening. And those are really obvious, but there's a lot of little stores that come in. There's new owners. There's new facades being created. People are doing renovations on the interiors.
Sure.
And so we're just always inviting people to come on downtown and make us a part of your relevant monthly experience.
Yeah. We're actually starting a Shop Local campaign.
Very cool.
In Tremonton, specifically for the holiday season. We have a little passport. And we have our local businesses going to be participating in this. So it's to highlight what we do have in our downtown, what's local, and to encourage people to support them during the holiday season, kind of that highlighting like Gary was talking about. And this year, we've also kind of tried to bring that attention to our downtown. We started a farmer's market in our Midland Square. That was a really big hit. Our vendors did outstanding. Many of them sold out within a couple hours.
Really?
It's crazy.
Cool.
Cinnamon buns sold out very quickly every single time that event happened. And even before the event happened, she was selling them because people showed up early every time to get them. They're just delicious. And then we decorated the square for the holidays, for the fall. We filled it with pumpkins and had a little photo booth set up in front of our clock tower, and families just loved that. And now we're going to be decorating for Christmas here this next week as well. It just draws the attention to downtown.
That is, and Tremont's downtown is similar to Logan's. Most people think of it, they think of a single street, right? Even though there are these offshoots and other blocks. Everyone in Logan thinks of Center Street. Everyone in Tremont thinks of it's Main Street, right? Basically. But within walking distance, I have to give a plug for this. I know it's a local secret, and I'm probably going to get angry phone calls and emails just for mentioning it on air. But I forget the name now. The restaurant at the bowling alley, walkable, the grill, walkable distance from downtown.
Absolutely,
that is amazing. and how this is not getting statewide attention. Maybe you don't want statewide attention, right? But that leads me to something. And Gary, you and I have talked about this as well for Logan. We there's a balance here, right? Because you don't want to drive locals away by being so popular that locals can't get a seat at the restaurant in downtown.
Absolutely.
But also you want people to come in and occupy hotels and all of that. How do you strike a balance in the goals set?
I think that could be hard. I think there's a balance with the type of events you host, making sure it's something that caters to our local audience. The farmers market is really about supporting what we have there, our local artists, our local bakers, our local farmers, which Tremonton loves their farmers. That's our history, is farmers. However, because of where we're located right off the highway, we have people coming through town constantly. They're there for the weekend. They're just staying at hotels. And then they happen upon the events and they participate as well. And so I think it's, focusing on the people that we have in Tremonton and making sure it caters to them, but always encouraging those who are outside to come on in, enjoy the party with us, enjoy Tremonton. Yeah. We have a lot to offer.
That is,
we haven't reached that maximum capacity.
Sure.
So
there's never been a point where you're like full, go home.
So the Echo Theater will have that experience, and Utah Theater, Lyric Theater. But when it comes to downtown events, we can always accommodate as many as you can imagine could be there. Sure. We're not the USU Maverick Stadium where we have a 19,000 seating capacity.
Yeah.
So
when that's full, downtown's full, right?
And
for that night.
Yeah, and we're excited to see what the new plaza will do to downtown, to see what parking issues that might create.
Sure.
The pedestrian walkability of where people choose to find a place to park and walk. It'll be interesting to see what dynamics that presents. But we're excited for challenges like that. That's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's going to be a challenge, but it is a good problem to have. And that's interesting you mentioned that, because I've noticed this, Gary, with Logan's Downtown. It seems to be, just looking at pedestrians only, if you consider pedestrian traffic a downtown thing mainly, I'm noticing it's headed a bit further south, that pedestrian traffic, and that creates an opportunity to expand the concept of downtown, right?
Yeah.
And similar in Tremont, right? You've got north and south that downtown can expand a bit there. Let me ask this before we go to our first break, because I haven't yet. How can people connect? I know for the Logan Downtown Alliance, logandowntown.org. You can also find them on Facebook, and I've linked to all of that on our Facebook page. What about the Tremonton Downtown?
So our Tremonton Downtown is actually through the city. We're not a separate organization.
Okay.
So Tremonton City on Facebook, Tremonton City on Instagram, or there's an email. It's downtown@tremontoncity.com.
Oh, very cool.
Good.
So reach out and be a part of this if you're listening from Tremonton. If you're not in Tremonton, maybe go take advantage of how close Tremonton is to us. I joked, but I'm serious about this. It's sort of like a little staycation. It's a place you can head for a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, a short drive, and feel like you're further away than Cache Valley than you really are, and some really cool stuff over there. So And I say this every time we're talking anything Box Elder County, the most underrated county fair in the nation, in my opinion, the Box Elder County Fair. So there's at least one reason to get over there each year. But we're talking about reasons you might want to get over there far more often than once a year for the county fair. With in the studio with us, Gary Saxton of the Logan City Downtown Alliance. And with Tremonton City, their downtown plan heading forward is to bring a spotlight more onto the downtown of Tremonton. And Sara Mohrman, our guest here in the studio, talking about that. If you have a question or a comment, 753-5868. We'll be back right after this.
If you haven't got your trees trimmed yet, this is it. Winter is here. Not only does it prevent damage from heavy snow, but it promotes healthier trees in the spring. So call Hull Tree Care now to get your big overgrown trees trimmed. 760-6587. However, because most of us tend to procrastinate, Bobby and his team at Hull Tree Care are willing to trim trees all winter long, weather permitting. So write this number down in case you hear a big boom in the night. 760-6587. Hull Tree Care. That's Hull Tree Care.
On the next Handle on the Law.
This is my concern. I go into a theater, which they spend millions of dollars to make it right, and they're not taking care of it.
Okay, here's your answer. You don't go to the theater anymore. You're
what
done.
About the rest of the people who are going to get
George,
by it?
What do you care?
I care.
Whenever you see someone walking around with pimples, do you stop them and go, hey, man, you've got pimples. What can I do to help you?
It's Handle on the Law, Saturdays from 1 to 4 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
This is Police Chief Gary Jensen from Logan City Police Department. A number of scams are occurring throughout our city and county. These scams are highly emotional and demand immediacy that you pay, and you pay now. They will say they are from the IRS, the Sheriff's Office, the Police Department, utility companies, medical facilities, or even romance scams. Slow down and diffuse by asking questions. Be careful. Hang up the phone call is the best thing that you can do, and don't become a victim.
People. I'm Jason Williams, joining us here in the studio, Gary Saxton of the Logan Downtown Alliance, and with Tremonton City's own Downtown Alliance effort to put a spotlight on their downtown. Sara Mohrman joining us as well. As Sara mentioned, with the Tremonton downtown, if you want news and info on that, you can email them at downtown@tremontoncity.org or visit the Tremonton City Facebook and webpage. I've linked to both on our Facebook page, but you can just search for Tremonton City on that. Make sure to try Tremonton City, because there's some other Tremontons in other parts of the country, but if you get to it that way, it's easy to find. And I've also, again, provided direct links on our Facebook page to tremontoncity.org and more. And it is logandowntown.org as well for the Logan Downtown Alliance. And so, Sara, you've been working with Gary on this, and Gary, you have, man, how long now?
12 years.
12 years now?
Yeah.
So 12 years of experience promoting downtowns. What maybe you guys could talk a little bit about ideas you've picked from each other as far as how to boost the downtown's profile?
Yeah, well, we're trying to, that's how Sara and I are collaborating, is we believe that Northern Utah can be strengthened by our efforts working together.
Sure.
And you might think, well, why would Logan want to support what's happening in Tremonton? Why would Tremonton? Aren't you cannibalizing or doing something destructive to each other?
Yeah, sure. Wouldn't you want to downplay Tremonton? Don't go there; it's awful.
But we think that if we show there's great energy in both cities, that people will stay north more frequently instead of maybe venturing south to the other metropolitans. So we're trying to just build up and they're two really unique cities that offer different experiences, and so we're just trying to promote each other because I think we both think that that'll just help people feel like, oh, we got options on both sides of the mountain.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's just something better when we can work together. There's a strength that comes there. Why reinvent the wheel? Tremonton is essentially starting this from scratch, but Gary has, he said, 12 years experience, and so he's been able to help, answer questions and kind of help with guidance this whole summer with all these ideas that as we are trying to create this, and it just makes more sense for us to work together and support each other. I mean, people in Tremonton are over in Logan all the time, and people in Logan are over in Tremonton all the time. So we might as well partner and work together and support each other.
Sure. And it's important to get this word out to residents as well, because as we've already said, we take our downtowns for granted, but word of mouth plays a big part in this. I've mentioned, Gary, you mentioned times when Maverick Stadium there is full, with especially if the team's doing well.
Yeah.
And I've told people, when you come up here, if you look on the map and you look at the road you choose, if you're looking for a place to stay and the hotels in Cache Valley are full, which they do fill up on a regular basis, Tremonton is a great place to stay.
It is.
If you're here for a weekend, because it's to say within driving distance is an understatement. It's a short drive. It's a nice drive. But it's fun for me to spotlight these various downtowns, because I enjoy having access to these is a privilege, I think, that we have here in Cache Valley. And I worry that there will be a time when the small town downtown is not a thing. So I like when we talk about the Logan Downtown Alliance, Gary. I think one of the greatest things that all of you have done there is grow the downtown. We have a brew pub in downtown now. We have more retail in downtown than even when I was a kid, despite a lot of the closings that were happening in the 90s. I love that, but it still remained small town downtown. Despite the increased offerings, and I really appreciate that. And Tremonton, I hope you're able to do the same, because I'd hate to see that turn into downtown Salt Lake. No offense to downtown Salt Lake, it's fun to go there, but you're going to downtown Salt Lake, right? There's something about small town downtown that is different, right?
It is, and I think we're trying to always project what the consumer experience will be 5-10 years from now.
Sure.
And we're trying to create those experiences that we think they'll enjoy. So to try to duplicate what you can get in Salt Lake or Ogden, I think isn't what people are looking for.
Sure.
They're not looking for another Ogden, another Salt Lake. They're looking for something that is truly a cultural experience in your neighborhood. So we're trying to play on our assets and what we have to offer, not trying to be someone else. We have what we think is really special here. Tremonton has what they think is really special there. Our job is to tell that story, make a promise to everyone what they'll experience when they come to our cities.
Sure.
And then we hope that between the restaurants, the lodging, the retail, the other services that you can get in a town and entertainment, that they walk away saying, hey, that was cool that we stopped by that downtown and discovered something different for their lives.
Sure.
And hopefully that becomes just part of their life as they move forward.
That's
absolutely. I think also, you mentioned Salt Lake. It's a lot of your big brands.
Sure.
Things that we all love, but there's something about those mom and pop shops that you have in your small town downtowns. Like, you go in, you know who's behind the counter, they know you, you have those fun conversations, you catch up on each other's lives. Sure. It's more than just shopping. It's more than just eating. It's, there's relationship that is built. There's community that's built. And
Sure.
I think is what separates those small downtowns from the big city downtowns. Because if you're shopping in Salt Lake, you're going in, you're going out. There's no relationship. You don't know the cashier's name. They don't know who you are. You'll probably never see each other again. But if you're shopping in downtown Tremonton, there's relationship being built.
Sure.
Now that's really important, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That I think people want that more and more in their lives, those relationships in a community.
There's something about knowing you're helping a family that
absolutely,
especially if you know their neighbors. But even if it's just figuratively neighbors, you know, there's something that's different about that. When I'm a bit aware of it. It's easy. to forget, right?
Yeah,
but
I see people all the time because I'm walking downtown quite a bit.
Sure.
I'll see people meet people that they know, and they catch up. How's your kids doing? What's your grandchild doing? What's happened here and there? And those conversations, I think, are really meaningful for your experience.
Sure.
Where you live. And you don't really get that. I don't see that happening when I go to big cities. I'm not seeing those impromptu little get-togethers. Like in front of the Great Harvest Bread, I always see people just connecting.
Sure.
And then they end up maybe eating a sandwich together, or they end up going into Prodigy and seeing each other. So I think relationships make communities really strong and make them meaningful. And I think Sara's seeing the same thing in Tremonton, giving the people in Tremonton a place to go where they can run into their neighbors and meet each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's two personal stories that I have along this line involving Logan Downtown that still stand out to me. I had the owner of a local bookstore remember, I didn't even ask her to, but she remembered a casual conversation we had about a book that I'd always looked for. And I was in their system because I'd done some business with them over the years here and there. And she called me out of the blue one day and said, I just found this book. She didn't have to do that. She probably could have sold it within minutes on her own shelves. She sat on it for over a month for me. Wow. And I was really touched by that. But I also, a story, I don't have permission to share the story, so I'm going to do it. And hopefully Mark isn't mad at me for this. But I happen to know that, now it wasn't Mark Anderson himself, but I happen to know that an employee, a family member of the Anderson family, Anderson Seed, drove out to someone's house. The reason they might not want me to tell this is they might not want me to think that this is a service they offer on the regular. But they drove out to someone's house to look at a tree so that they could recommend what this person could do to save the tree because the person was that desperate. And no offense to the large chains where, like you said, we at least think it's quicker. And they have everything, and it oftentimes can be very cheap. You don't get things like that from a national chain.
Absolutely.
Ask someone at a national supermarket to go a little above and beyond, or let me know when this comes in. Call my cell phone. They'll laugh.
Kind of a buzzword in community development is always having a gathering place, and just in that word gathering, it means people are gathering.
Sure.
They're not gathering. They may gather by accident, but then make friends, or they may be friends that gather. But it's just, I think Sara and I want to do are connect people with their neighbors and connect people with business owners, because once you go into a business in downtown, whether it's Tremonton Downtown or Logan, you're pretty good chance you're talking to the owner or the owner's relative or someone real close.
Yeah.
And it's a different experience.
Sure.
And that's what we really try to do our best to make those connections happen.
And studies have actually been done on this. Not any shopping you do retail wise in your local community, even if it is with a big chain, it's obviously supporting someone's job and other economic activity. But your dollar goes further when it's spent at a local brick and mortar store.
Yes.
And how that happens is fascinating. In fact, I'll post that on our Facebook page as well. A conversation we had recently with state economist Mark Nold talking about what he called the economic ripple effect of downtowns. I'll link to that podcast from just about a year ago, actually. Our guests again here in the studio, Gary Saxton of the Logan Downtown Alliance, logandowntown.org, and Sara Mohrman, who is with the same entity for Tremonton City. And you can connect with the downtown of Tremonton and news and events and more by going to tremontoncity.org or email them at downtown@tremontoncity.org. We've got a few more minutes with them. First, though, we'll take a look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:38. The news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. This past Election Day, Cash GOP Chair Shelley Giddings called into KVNU's For the People program and was asked what she thinks the concerns have been for voters during this latest election cycle.
I think people in Cache County are worried about the economy. They're worried about inflation. They want to know what, if anything, our candidates can do.
Sure.
Now, obviously, local, working with inflation is a little bit more difficult. That's more of a federal, maybe a state level. But I really see people talking about the economy a lot.
Giddings said the candidates and legislators have done a great job and that they are sensitive to those issues. She feels that Utah's strong economy is a result. She mentioned one candidate specifically.
They've all been doing a good job, honestly, I think. Dan Johnson, he's been out, man. He has hit the campaign trail so hard. He's visited every precinct in his district, everyone. I mean, think about that. That's
sure.
Door to door, talking to the people.
Johnson won his race in House District 3 against Democrat Patrick Belmont, 57 to 42%. Giddings took issue with U.S. Senate independent candidate Evan McMullen, who was on the program before Giddings, calling those in office leaders. She said they are not leaders. They are elected public officials and work for the public. She said calling them leaders gives them more power and authority than they deserve. Residents in northern Utah may have been shaken up Saturday morning as a magnitude 3.6 earthquake hit Box Elder County, according to the U.S. Geological Survey and University of Utah seismograph station. The earthquake occurred around 6:45 a.m. The epicenter was about 4.5 miles southwest of Corinne, with tremors felt as far as Brigham City, but no damage or injuries were reported. And a section of Mendon Road, 600 South, is closed today through Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The closure from 3200 West to Mendon. Motorists are advised to use Valley View Highway, State Route 30 as an alternate route. The closure is necessary for road crews to complete shoulder work along the road. During the closure, the road will only be accessible to emergency vehicles if necessary. KBNU News Time is 5:41.
Even though the weather's grown colder, you still have time to have your fruit trees pruned. Logan Extermination says your trees need to be trimmed back in order to achieve success next year. And this is the first step to a bountiful harvest. However, you could do more bad than good if you don't know what you're doing. Save the headache and call Logan Extermination today and get a jump on tree pruning. Prices will vary depending on your needs. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
KBNU weather, mostly clear tonight, low 10 to 15, sunny, lower 30s on Tuesday. It's been to 35. It's 29 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Give them a call, 435-6587 or 435-760-6587. Ask about the radio discount with Whole Tree Care. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Dr. Josh Redd, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identify triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Did you build a new home? Regardless of how clean your builder was, your ducts will have a variety of construction debris in them. Debris like sawdust, flooring pieces, sheetrock dust, and more. You do not want to move into your home with that debris in the ductwork. Call the Duct Hunter and get on the schedule today. Call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Wrapping up with our guests here in the studio, Sara Mohrman of Tremonton City and Gary Saxton of the Logan Downtown Alliance, talking downtowns in general, but also what's coming up for Logan Downtown and Tremont's downtown as they really increase their efforts to spotlight their own downtown, as the Downtown Alliance has done here in Logan. And Sara, you mentioned as we started today events coming up in Tremonton. This is a good place to leave things so people know what they're missing if they don't get out.
Right, yeah. So next week we're actually starting our Shop Local campaign. It's essentially 12 days of shopping with a little passport. We'll be launching Monday. It leads right up to our Christmas or holiday extravaganza in Midland Square on December 3rd.
Oh, wow.
So this is actually something that has happened every year with Santa Claus in the square. However, this year we're actually Tremonton Recreation, Tremonton Downtown, and the library is all partnering together. So we'll have Santa Claus. We're going to have the Grinch telling his story. We have activities for kids. We're going to have an ugly sweater contest.
Nice.
A whole bunch of things for all age groups to come out together. But that's where we're going to announce our winners from our Shop Local campaign, because whoever shops at the most local stores, they're going to be in a drawing for a grand prize where our local businesses are contributing some gift certificates.
Oh,
so then we
cool.
can come back and shop and support them some more.
Now, you don't have to be a Tremonton resident to win this.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, you just have to shop local. Yep.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
That is fun.
That is. TremontonCity.org again, or email.
No, change that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got this wrong. The email address is downtown@TremontonCity.com.
Correct.
To email in if you have a request or ideas and all of that. And they're also on Facebook. I've linked all that on our Facebook page. And Gary, I know for the Logan Downtown, there were some announcements just recently. In fact, a date set for the big the tree lighting, the traditional tree lighting, right?
Yeah, that's Logan City's Center Street Christmas Parade and Tree Lighting Festival.
A popular event.
So that'll be Saturday after Thanksgiving. So you can check logancity.org.
Very cool.
For all that detail. And then we start our Parade of Gingerbread Homes contest. Starts December 3rd through the 31st. So, and then
now that was interesting last year. I had no idea how creative. I know we talked about creativity, but I had no idea how. There was a castle.
Oh,
yeah,
there was a gingerbread castle.
And then you'll have the gallery walk from Cash Arts organizations doing the gallery walk on December 16th.
Okay.
And you do have the Mannheim Steamroller Christmas at Ellen Eccles Theater on December 19th.
Not sold out yet, but get your tickets.
Yeah.
It will.
So those are some fun things happening during the holidays in downtown.
That is very cool.
I think, Sarah, you got other things going on in downtown?
Yeah, so we are lighting our downtown. It's something that we haven't done for several years, but we are actually right now working on getting our trees downtown, like on Main Street, set up so we can light them up.
Oh, how cool.
And in the square, we're lighting that up. So it's going to look like a cute Christmas, charming downtown that, you know, what you want.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
This has been fun. I hope we get a chance to check in again on a regular basis, in fact, because downtowns are so important, and what's happening both in Logan's and now in Tremonton's, really, really good news for residents. Get out and appreciate your downtown, TremontonCity.com, or email downtown@TremontonCity.com. And, of course, the Logan Downtown Alliance can be found on Facebook and at logandowntown.org. For a full calendar and more than what we've even had time to discuss here today, support your downtowns. Those dollars spent in downtown go further than dollars spent anywhere else. And thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Not sure what to do for Thanksgiving dinner? Does the thought of that mess turn you off? Then call the Beehive Pub and Grill. They have an amazing family-style Thanksgiving meal ready to go. Just order by Friday, November 18th by 5 p.m. Pick up on November 23rd between noon and 6. Heat and serve. That's it. A full Thanksgiving meal with all the normal fixins without the hassle. Prices will vary. Order for 2 or get meals for 6. Call for details. Beehive Pub and Grill, Logan.
Advanced Heating and AC, the two-time gold medal winner in Best in Northern Utah. They're teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you the best furnace units available, and now's the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, 752-7272, or stop by their showroom west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Which is better, a hammer or a screwdriver? It depends if you have a nail or a screw. At Top Job Asphalt, they know that, and it's not one size fits all. With a variety of services and products, they can meet any pavement need and budget. Call 764-0451 and let their pavement experts give you a free estimate on any asphalt job. Best products, best services, guaranteed. 764-0451 or topjobasphalt.com. Choose the best. Choose Top Job Asphalt.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just a reminder, Al Lewis and Aggie Game Day coming up right at 6 o'clock this evening. We are excited to hand the reins over, and come on, Aggies. It's been an interesting midterm cycle, to say the least. We're still processing a lot of the fallout from the results of the election, mainly because it was one of the weirdest midterm turnouts that, I mean, this is unprecedented, really, for the fundamentals, as they call them, for a midterm election, or the party in power in the White House specifically, almost always loses seats. The question is just how many, and usually it's a lot. Last midterm was like 30 or something. 2010 was a huge, 2014 as well. So, I mean, it's tradition. It's usually the way things go. So the fact that Republicans are looking like a at best 5-seat majority in the House, at worst 5-seat majority in the House, that is a majority. So that's good for Republicans. That gives them some power over oversight, committee assignments, and more. But if it is only a 5-seat majority, it could be higher. It could be 12 or 13 in the end when all the races are called by next week officially. Counting still happening in many states. In fact, I saw one race in California, in a House district in California, is only at 53% reporting because they had so many mail-in ballots come in on election or the day before election day. So this is going to be a while, but still, back to the results. Democrats have their majority in the Senate. They may grow it by 1. Right now they're at 51. That's the only unknown at this point in the Senate. They held on to that. Republicans looking at, again, at worst, a 5-seat, at best, a 12, 13-seat majority in the House, which is going to be tough for whoever the speaker is because that means you've got to get everybody in your caucus on board. And with the Freedom Caucus, that's going to be a challenge for McCarthy or whoever it might be. And it might not be McCarthy. So obviously this has drawn a lot of attention, and people are keeping a close eye on how things shake up. And what that means is Mitt Romney in the spotlight, which doesn't make sense, really, if you think about it. Why is everyone talking about Mitt Romney today? But it makes perfect sense if you consider that, one, he hasn't announced yet whether he plans to run again. But as we started the show, obviously a clear signal from Utah Republicans, 86 elected officials from our own county clerk and 2 of our state House representatives, Casey Snyder and Dan Johnson, to the state senators throughout the state, and even the state auditor, county representatives in Salt Lake and Cache County, Gina Worthen, and others signing on with this, basically sending the message that they do not want Donald Trump to be the nominee. That's not what they said. What they said in the letter that was published today, again, is that they want Ron DeSantis to put together, Florida governor, to put together an exploratory committee. But the message being sent here is clear, that they feel Donald Trump, the candidates he endorsed, the Stop the Steal candidates that lost across the board except in one place in the entire nation, they feel that costs them a more solid majority in the House and the majority entirely in the Senate. So the message today is we're endorsing Ron DeSantis to say to Trump, it's time to move on, sir. Whether Trump does or not, well, I would doubt it, considering, this is a guy that likes to be in the spotlight, and he's already said he has a big announcement planned next Tuesday. But Utah Republicans, 86 of them, elected officials here in Utah today, saying it's time to move on from Trump, and doing so by endorsing DeSantis, or at least endorsing DeSantis, putting together an exploratory committee. So naturally, everyone starts thinking, where's Mitt Romney on this? Romney, of course, was in the headlines quite a bit through the United States Senate race here in Utah, where Senator Lee was successful at winning re-election, but to a much smaller margin than is tradition for Utah Republicans, especially a 12-year incumbent in his race against independent Evan McMullin. Mitt Romney didn't endorse, and a lot of people have criticized Romney for that, saying that it wouldn't have been, such a small margin of victory for Senator Lee if Romney had. Lee didn't endorse Romney, by the way, in Romney's run for Senate. And Romney has said that he didn't endorse because he was friends and had respect for both Senator Lee and Evan McMullin, and he wasn't picking a side on that. Lee went on Fox News and basically begged Romney to, quote, get on board. Romney never did. And so this basically says at this point we've got headed into the next election cycle, a big unknown on whether Romney's running again, but I'm guessing he does, and I would guess if he does, re-election's going to be pretty easy for him. But considering heading into the next election, Romney, a very outspoken Trump critic, voted to impeach him in that final impeachment process. The question is now, does this Lee victory make Romney more or less likely to run for re-election? Would a McMullin win have influenced his thinking in any way? Donald Trump, again, former president, plans to make a, quote, special announcement a week from tomorrow. So everyone's speculating here on what Romney plans to do. Romney congratulated Lee, along with Utah's 4 GOP congressmen, for their wins in a tweet last week. When it became clear that they had won before the elections had been called even. And Romney said, I look forward to continuing our efforts to advance Utah priorities. Lee thanked Romney in a tweet of his own from his personal account, based Mike Lee. Yeah, I know. Adding, is there anything less based than Senator Mike Lee? But he's trying to be cool like the kids, so, good for him. He said, we'll see you soon, to Mitt Romney, followed by the nail polish emoji, which is, again, Senator Lee, how do you do, fellow kids? I'm just like you. But nail polish emoji for Generation Z means, it can mean a lot of different things: nonchalance, fanciness, sass, indifference, or self-confidence. So what Lee meant by including that emoji in his tweet back to Romney, I have no idea, but it's definitely fueled some speculation. Utah expert and Mohrman himself, reporter McKay Coppins, BYU grad, he reports for The Atlantic. He tweeted, Mike Lee deciding how best to respond to a congratulatory tweet from Mitt Romney goes with petty. So Coppins interpreting the nail polish emoji as the sass, or perhaps even nonchalance, saying he doesn't care that Romney congratulated him. I think that might be reading too much into it. Lee and Romney have both said repeatedly they have a good relationship, and they've collaborated on bills, or have collaborated on bills in the past, a couple of them at least, especially Utah-specific things. But they do often part ways on major legislations. Obviously, they parted ways on whether or not to impeach Trump. Mike Lee didn't want to. Romney voted to. And Romney, of course, very on board with that massive infrastructure bill last year, which has brought a lot of money into Utah and been very popular, even with state lawmakers. Even though Biden got credit for it, Romney supported it. Lee did not. I don't know. So it really comes down to whether or not Romney runs for re-election in the first place. But then the next question is, if he does, is there kind of a coalition here in Utah to push back? Would Romney maybe be facing some opposition or even a primary challenge if he decides to run for re-election? I don't know. Someone probably will. I would guess, considering, Utah GOP delegates, the most, the furthest right of Republicans in the state, aren't Romney fans. But he's Mitt Romney. Any challenge is going to be an uphill battle, to say the least. I think it really comes down to whether Romney runs or not. And I would guess, despite Romney's refusal to endorse in this race for United States Senate that just ended, I would guess you're not going to see Senator Mike Lee leading or jumping on board any effort to unseat Romney anytime soon. I don't think that the divisions between them go that deep. I could be wrong, but I think this is reading too much into it. My personal interpretation of why Lee included the nail polish emoji was the confidence interpretation, saying that he's pretty sure he and Romney will be able to do good things for Utah in office. But maybe I'm just wearing the rose-colored glasses. Maybe it was really a thumb in the nose. Who knows? I guess we'll find out in 2024. That's our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. Al Lewis and Aggie Game Day next here on KVNU Logan.